There is absolutely no collusion. I didn't make a phone call to Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia. Everybody knows it. That was a Democrat hoax. It was an excuse for losing the election, and it should have never been this way, where they spent all these millions of dollars.
Donald Trump is so thin-skinned about the Russiagate investigation that, according to a blockbuster report in the Washington Post, his daily intelligence update, known as the President's Daily Brief, or PDB, is often structured to avoid upsetting him. A former intelligence official told the Post, quote, "If you talk about Russia meddling, interference, that takes the PDB off the rails." And joining me now is someone who knows the psyche of Donald Trump very well, Tony Schwartz, the ghostwriter for The Art of the Deal. And Tony, just another piece from that epic Washington Post article. This is the quote: "Russia-related intelligence that might draw Trump's ire is in some cases included only in the written assessment and not raised orally," said a former intelligence official familiar with the matter. In other cases, Trump's main briefer, a veteran CIA analyst, adjusts the order of his presentation in text, aiming to soften the impact, because they're afraid it'll just explode and they think he won't read.
Well, he won't read because he doesn't read. But, you know, he's operating inside the White House both like a cult leader. So I do think he has people essentially hypnotized. And I think the notion, for example, that he won't go after Omarosa is, that Omarosa won't go after him is exactly right, because she's terrified. And he's created that atmosphere of terror. And then what he's really doing, what the bottom line is right now, is as he tries to discredit the FBI and the Justice Department, and he mobilizes the Republicans to go along with that, he is inexorably moving toward a police state. Let's not kid ourselves. He wants to go and get Eric Prince and put together a mercenary separate army. He wants to use the most available terrorist event to be able to declare martial law, to be able to put into effect a world in which he controls it completely. And then he has this little mafia family inside the White House that will run the game.
And you know, we talked about this a little bit last night with Chris Matthews on Hardball, and I sort of made the point that, you know, Americans cannot wrap their heads around that idea because we're not familiar with sort of an Erdogan type government or a Putin type government. All over the world, you have governments that operate this way, where you have a kleptocracy, a family that runs the country, this sort of insular kind of fan base that is just rabidly for the leader no matter what he does, and then the resistance on the outside trying to get in. I mean, Donald Trump, are you surprised by the swiftness with which he has corrupted and recruited the Republican Party? I mean, you have people on Capitol Hill who sound exactly like Donald Trump every day, trying to exonerate him and declare Robert Mueller to be a criminal.
Well, it shows you how effective he is at co-opting anyone who he has any chance of getting on his side, and it does say something pretty awful about the Republican Party. It is an extreme party now, and yes, I am surprised, not because I thought that the Republicans were about to stand up to him, but I believe that they will end up supporting. For example, if Mueller comes out, indicts him, finds him guilty of, or charges him with obstruction of justice, I fully expect the Republicans to jump on board, just like they did with the health care bill.
You mean jump on board with Trump and say that Mueller is invalid, what he said is invalid?
Absolutely. I cannot see a circumstance in which the Republicans are going to go after him. Is there any evidence this year that the Republicans will stand up to him? One or two Republicans on the health care bill. Otherwise, almost nothing.
Yeah. And does he need all of these components? I mean, he has basically state-run media in terms of Fox and some of these OAN and all these right-wing media outlets that are fully for him. They're saying basically almost ready to have Mueller arrested as an enemy of the state. But you've got Republicans, even the Lindsey Grahams of the world, touting how beautiful Mar-a-Lago is. I mean, it's a complete co-optation. Do you see any sort of heroism on the Republican side? Anyone who's willing to stop this?
Well, no, we haven't seen anyone. Corker signed on with the tax bill, notwithstanding the fact that he said that he could not tolerate large deficits.
And is it for money? Is it because they're going to personally profit? I mean, Corker's a rich man.
I don't think that for Corker it's about profiting. I think it's really a loss of recognition of a bigger reality, of the fact that the world is actually at risk. I think you get seduced into it. I do think that the Democrats have to mobilize an equally powerful force that really is focused specifically and uniquely on opposing the emergence of a police state. If the Democrats don't do that, they're once again ceding territory to people who are more extreme and willing to do things that they're not.
So the public seems to really sort of understand what's happening in a way that the Republicans just are not pretending not to see. There was a question that was asked. There's a Quinnipiac poll of 1,211 people. They're asked, what are the top things that you think of when you talk about Trump? Idiot, liar, incompetent, leader, strong. We won't say, a-hole. Great, moron, arrogant, disgusting, unqualified. It's sort of a grab bag of mostly negative words.
Well, it's a grab bag of 80% hideous words and 20% okay words.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a good one, and we know that his disapproval rate is now 2/3 of America. Think about this, Joy. 2/3 of America means that a dramatic percentage of those who voted for Trump now oppose him, and yet, because of the way the presidency has been invested with so much power, and the Republicans are willing to sacrifice their role as a separate
political branch.
Yeah, political branch. You've got him able, as part of a significant minority, to do things that he ought not to be able to do.
And lastly, knowing him, what does the fact that he is so disliked do to his psyche?
It is the controlling issue here. He does not have ideology even today. If the left happened to be the people who loved him, Donald Trump would be left. What he's been reduced to is this small group of extremists who are now the only ones who will give him the praise and adoration that he needs, and therefore he is pitching everything to them.
Scary world that we live in. Do you have hope that this Trumpism, this thing that we're experiencing, as you said, this roll toward a police state, will be rolled back?
Well, I have two feelings, and you have to live in a complex world right now. I have one feeling that says, I do have my passport ready. That's one of the 20 suggestions that Timothy Snyder says in On Tyranny You Should. And then I have another feeling that says there's still a deep well of more evolved human beings and thinking that I hope and pray and want to believe will step up in the months ahead and save the republic.
Tony Schwartz, it's terrifying talking to you, but I always do appreciate you coming here and telling us the insights that only you would have.
You always get me talking in the most apocalyptic terms. Isn't that you?
When it's apocalyptic, you kind of have to talk about it that way. It might be me, though. More AM2 after the break. Thank you very much.